Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another live swatching video. Today's live swatching video is going to be so long, probably the longest I've ever done. So grab a snack or a drink or a cocktail, whatever you need to get through long videos. I'm gonna try and run through this quicker than I normally do with my live swatches. And if you're new to my channel, this is where I try every eyeshadow or every lip color on my actual face. Today we're live swatching the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe Vault Collection, the entire collection, every single eyeshadow palette. I'm gonna be trying every single eyeshadow color on my actual eyes so we can see how they apply, what the pigmentation's like. I normally don't blend the shadows, I just kind of throw them on my lid to see what they go on like and what they look like, but today we're definitely going to be trying to blend each eyeshadow out, as a big complaint with this palette so far is that people are having trouble blending it. Not everyone, some people really love it. I've seen great reviews and I've seen really bad reviews. I am so freaking excited to try this out because I need to know, is this any freaking good? I just feel like you can't trust too many people. No offense, but especially Morphe and Jaclyn Hill products because a lot of people have codes. I don't have a Morphe code. I'm not on the PR list. I bought this myself. I ordered this from MorpheBrushes.com. I did not pick it up at Ulta. Now I've heard there are rumors circling around the internet. I'm sure you guys have heard this by now. Some saying that it's the old palette because if you didn't know, the original launch of this collection got really bad reviews from a lot of influencers, and Jaclyn Hill claimed that they were going to be either reformulating or repressing the eyeshadow. I think as it's come along further, she tends to say that they were repressed, not necessarily reformulated. There are rumors online that if you bought the palettes at Ulta, you're getting the old eyeshadow palettes, and if you bought the palettes on Morphe.com or at a Morphe Brushes location, that those are the new palettes. So I wish I had the original palette to compare it to, or I wish I even bought one from Ulta and one from Morphe, but I didn't. I just have these ones straight from Morphe.com. I noticed on the side, the ingredients, it's actually a sticker on there, so I'm going to peel that off real quickly and see if it looks any different. This here is the original ingredients, so it does look as though they did reformulate. Again, I don't know how they could do that in a matter of a few weeks. I don't even know the real timeline, so I don't want to speak to any of that, but it seemed to be quite quickly that they redid these palettes. In the sticker, it does show different ingredients. For example, within the first line, on the new sticker, it says magnesium stearate, and I looked it up, and again, I have no idea what this shit means. I'm not a scientist or anything like that. Magnesium stearate was added. It's the fourth word in the ingredients. It was not there originally. Wikipedia states that it is used as a release agent and as a component or a lubricant in the production of pharmaceuticals and cosmetics. So it basically says it makes things softer. So maybe they used that or added that to hopefully make the shadows a little smoother for everyone. Again, I didn't try the original one, so I don't know if it's going to be better or worse, but I'm just going to let you guys know how this one is. I'll say the packaging is cute. It obviously looks very, very much like her Becca collaboration, which I know is also kind of a drama right now in the whole Jaclyn Hill world. This girl, every time she has a launch, I swear, it's like goes to hell real quickly. And I'm a Jaclyn Hill fan, or I should say I was a fan when she was making videos consistently. Now I don't really get super jazzed about her videos because they're just so few far in between. So I'm just gonna go in order. We're gonna try each palette. We're gonna start with Ring the Alarm. Just speaking of the packaging design by itself real quick, I do like that. I like that this little box holds all of them, keeping it really clean and neat. And we're gonna get to live swatching. Let me zoom you beautiful bitches in. Hold on. But just to let you know how I do this, I do not use eyeshadow primer or base whatsoever. I will, as we go on, put a little concealer on my lids to even out the redness and the irritation and sometimes the staining from the shadows, but I set it heavily with translucent powder so that there's no tackiness or nothing absorbing the shadows, making them look more pigmented than they are. The very first shade we're going to try is Lolly. This is a dry brush. I'm just gonna pop this on the lid with my E60 brush from Sigma. I'm going into the palette for a second time, trying to really press it on there. It's like only sticking to a certain area, which is kind of strange. I just went in for a third time in the palette. And again, there is no primer. Of course, primer always helps the shadow out. Lots and lots and lots of fallout there. So there we have Lolly. I'll say I think it did okay for not having primer. I do see the hints of gold in there. You know, it's a pinky goldy, kind of like a NARS Orgasm type of shade. It did okay. Not the best whatsoever, but again, I didn't have primer, and sometimes with these more shimmery shades, you kind of need a good base to get it really working. If you were wondering, my palette says V2. I know there's this whole thing about some palettes saying V1, some saying V2, so if that helps you, I wanted to let you know that. The next shade we're trying is a matte. This is called Rush. Wow, that's a lot more sheer than I was expecting it to be. I'm going into the palette for a second time. Try packing that on. This one's not so bad. You kind of gotta pack it instead of swiping it on. And then just kind of trying to blend that through my crease. So here we have Rush. I didn't think this one was too bad at all. I actually rather liked it. We've only tried 2 so far, but this would definitely be a better shade than Lolly. Of course, they're different consistencies, they're different finishes, but so far this one's fine. The next shade we're live swatching is called On Camera. Let's pop that on the lid. I went into the palette a second time. Gosh, it's weird. They don't want to stick in certain areas. The shimmers so far, or the more metallic shades, are definitely something you're going to have to really build up or use with a tacky base. But I am able to get decent pigment out of it for sure. I think with a primer, it would be okay. So here we have this shade On Camera. Again, like I was saying, I think it's actually pretty okay for not having a primer or anything else to really build it up or get it to stick to the lid. The next shade we're live swatching is called Boom. Looks pretty. Here we go, popping this on. It's definitely going on a little patchy. It's really awesome in some areas and then really dry in others. But that was just with 1 layer of shadow, which I don't think is half bad. Let's go in with 1 more layer and see if we can build this up to be a little more consistent. Again, it's okay. I don't see anything too terrible about the palette. It is a little patchy. Overall, Boom looks okay. There's a few spots where it kind of grabbed weirdly. Like, I'm sure you can see along the crease, it grabbed it really hard, and then on this outer half, it just didn't. It just did not apply smoothly right there. The next shade we're live swatching is called Alert. Go ahead and pop that on the lid. Definitely appears to be some decent pigment there. That's with 1 application. I went into my palette 1 more time, build that up. To me, that doesn't look half bad at all. I'm gonna go ahead and go in with a blending brush and see how that does in the crease. Went into my palette 1 more time. I think it's applying really well. It seems to be blending pretty well. I think that looks fine. It is a little patchy, I won't lie. There are some spots where it could definitely be more pigmented. You guys are gonna hear me say this a million times in this video. Obviously, I think with the base, it would do a little bit better. The next shade we are testing is called Bomb Ass. I'm no prude by any means. I love a bomb ass, if you will. But like, there are so many beautiful words in the world. Like, that's what you picked? Bomb ass? Okay. Anyway, let's take this bomb ass onto the lid. I picked up a lot of shadow and it's just kind of sticking again in 1 spot. I can't even hardly move it around the lid. Ooh. You guys, tap, tap, tap away. There is a lot of fallout with these shades, which I'm not hating on. I've told you guys before, I don't mind fallout as long as the shadows are worth it and my end look is amazing. I will deal with the fallout. Overall, the color is a really pretty color. I love the vibrancy behind it and I feel pretty in it. I would definitely love this all over the lid. The next shade we are live swatching is called Siren. It looks like a matte burgundy. Just gonna go ahead and pop that on the lid. It's actually a little more muted than I was expecting it to be when I saw it in the pan. I'm getting 1 more shadow layer. I'm also, again, going to take some on a blender brush and see how that blends out. So working that into the crease, and I'm going to start blending that up. I can definitely, do you see that? Where it's kind of forming a cut crease, weirdly enough, when actually there's more shadow applied to my lid than there is my crease, but it's giving that line. I think it's pretty, don't get me wrong. I think it kind of created like a really quick, easy smoky eye, but if you didn't want that random freaking line through the crease, I think you're beat. Like, I think that's just how it's gonna go. I definitely see what people were saying about some of these shadows. So again, here is Siren. I think it's a beautiful color and I actually don't mind the look we randomly just did really quickly. However, if I was to be using the shade as a transition tone or to buff out a darker shade for like an all over the eye dark smoky look, it would be annoying for that line to form when you already have a line. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's just weird that it did that. Like, you can see there's such a sharp line through the crease that for me, I personally could not blend out. The next shade we are doing is called Mugshot. This is another matte. I'm using another E60 brush from Sigma. I do always link the brushes I use down below if you see one that you're interested in. Packing that all over the lid. It's doing that thing again where it really doesn't want to stick in the middle of my lid. I'm gonna go ahead and do my best to blend that out. It's a pretty tone. It's definitely a very pretty color. This one's a little trickier to blend out, but I didn't have any additional shadow on my brush. I'm just trying to smooth that out. So here we have Mugshot. I think this one is very pretty. I see a little patchiness. It's nothing too intense though. It's nothing I think I would write home about at all. Right in the crease, again, there's that little spot where it got a little dark and it was a little tricky to blend. You can kind of just see the uneven patchiness of it. However, it's not the worst I've ever seen. Honestly, it's not, in my opinion. I've definitely seen much, much worse. The next shade we'll be live swatching is called Framed. This looks like a really pretty burgundy berry shade. Popping that on the lid as we do. This one so far, not so great. This is just one application of color. I thought maybe if I go in a little more sheerly, we'll be able to build it up to where we want, but you can see where it is kind of sticking. I took another layer of shadow and just press it on the lid. It's going better this way when you just kind of press it in. Okay, pretty color for sure. Now let's try to blend it out and up. It's definitely not wanting to blend at all. I didn't take any additional shadow. I'm gonna try that next, but first I just wanted to try it with a dry brush, and it is not blending out, and you can see where it's starting to fade. Right there, I have that line where it's kind of going away. So let me dip into the shadow itself and see if I can use that to blend it out. Well, that just won't do. It's doing that thing again where it's creating that line. But right here, I'm shocked at how much that kind of went away. But this is definitely my least favorite that we've tried so far, which is a shame because I love the shade, but this might be a little tricky to work with. We're on the very last shade of the Ring the Alarm palette, you guys. This last shade is called Secret. It looks like a warm brown, and I'm nervous for Secret because Frame did not go so well just now, but maybe Secret will be better. I had heard that the mattes were pretty difficult to use, and that one definitely was. Though their shades are pretty, it's the performance that was kind of a problem. One thing I do just want to say is that I saw Jaclyn Hill tweet like she wants to get to the bottom of this because all the palettes she has in her house are amazing, and I really want to know, has she physically tried every shade on her eye like I'm doing right now? Like, if I had an eyeshadow palette ever in my life, if I ever had a collab, you can bet your sweet buns I would try every single eyeshadow on my eyeball to see how it did, because not only would I be so proud and I would just want to know and play with it and really feel it and just be so excited for it, or did she only swatch every shade and she thought her swatches were fine? I mean, this is why we do live swatches, because not for nothing, swatches on the arm proves nothing to me. Nothing. It does not tell you how it's going to work on your eyeball, because you're just finger swatching, and you know, that's not how we do a smooth smoky eye. You can make the prettiest arm swatches in the world, but that doesn't mean anything for how it's going to be on our eyeball. So that's something I'd really love to know. Jaclyn, did you try every shade on your eyeball? And that's no shade, it's a genuine question. Did you try every shade? And that is quite patchy. And that was about 2 or 3 dips into the palette. I'm gonna take a dry, clean brush and attempt to blend that out. It's not really blending at all. I'm gonna dip into the shadow, work it into the crease. It's pretty, and I would put it all over my lid, but you'd need a really good base, and you need a lot of other shades to kind of blend that line out. It's a cute brown, but it's not the absolute best. All these shadows were her, like, extras. Everything that didn't make it into the main Morphe Brushes palette. It leads me to think, should they have ever made it into any palette? If they weren't good enough for your main palette, why would they be in other palettes? And again, you know, one palette can only hold so many colors, so maybe these colors just did not make the cut for her palette because she liked other colors better. But is there a chance that they just weren't as great as the other shadows? Did they not perform that well? Okay, so now that we've tried each shade in this palette, I will give you 1 minute of thoughts on it. I think it's generally pretty good, not too bad. The mattes are definitely tricky to work with. They are definitely patchy, and some did not blend out very well, especially Framed and Secret would be the ones that I probably had the hardest time with. All right, the next palette we're gonna be live swatching is called Bling Boss. This is the palette I was really excited for. I was kind of excited for all of them. I thought they all had really pretty color schemes, but I really loved, like, these shades really stood out to me. They look so glamorous and gorgeous. The purple's very vibrant. You know I'm not the biggest fan of purple, but it's a pretty purple. And Bling Bling, I'm assuming this one's actually gonna be a tough one to swatch without any tacky base. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. Now, I need to tell you guys something. I just saw something very interesting on Ashley Mayorga's Twitter. She's an influencer. She does beauty videos and she does drama videos as well, but not in a kind of like sketchy, shady, rude drama type of way. Like, she's just very honest and is about facts and truth. And I honestly personally don't mind the drama channels. They entertain me. I don't really care. She posted a screenshot of a comment left on, I believe it's like a Morphe post regarding the Vault palette. It's funny because this is something I've been wondering this whole time. A lot of you guys know I was a manager at Ulta for a very long time. I then went to work for different brands after that, but I was wondering what the case is with this, whether the palettes were actually ever pulled. So this comment, and again, go to Ashley Mayorga's Twitter. I will leave it down below if you guys want to read this. Someone commented, I work with Clinique and Lauder, but I go into Ulta daily, so she's probably a beauty vendor, a freelance artist for one of these brands, I'm assuming. She says, I'm typically there enough when RTVs are happening or have happened. If you don't know what an RTV is, it's when a brand is recalling a product or it's taking it off the shelves. Ulta gets a list, typically once a week, of what needs to come back to the warehouse. So they'll send that list to the stores. The stores will then take the list and go and grab all the product on the list and send it back to the company. Her comment says the Vault palettes were never RTV'd and no notice was given out to have the original palettes sent away. So this is whether there was new palettes brought in or people were just selling the same old palettes that were supposedly like stocked and reformulated. No notice was given to have the originals sent away and receive a new shipment. They launched once and that's what was being sold. She says, I highly doubt they were pulled and repressed. You guys, there's more comments from other employees that say we definitely never received any on the shipments prior for release a few days ago. So nothing that was launched was then pulled, at least not with Ulta. These comments are all saying that they've had the same palette since back when it was supposed to launch and they've just been sitting there and now have been put out. So girl, that is some tea. I'm usually not a tea spiller on my channel, but I just saw that and I had to let you know. Again, credit goes to Beauty with Ashley Mayorga. She has a YouTube channel as well. It is FU from Florida, so that is amazing. YouTube.com/FU from Florida. I will link all her stuff down below if you want to see that for yourself if I didn't explain it well, but that could potentially be very, very deceiving if people went in to buy their Ulta palettes thinking it was a new and improved formula, but it was the same old palette. So whatever, let's keep going. So again, this is the Bling Boss palette. We're gonna first start with the shade Bling Bling. So Bling Bling is super glittery. I don't see this applying well on a dry lid, and I probably wouldn't see any shade of this type of formula applying that well on a dry lid. I do just want to be fair about that. Colors like this that are more glittery typically really do require a tackier base. Going in with one more layer. It is not going on that well at all. It's hardly going on, but I didn't expect it to go on too well without a wetter base. I knew that was going to happen, but it's pretty bad. I'm going to wet my finger and apply it that way just so we can see, you know, how it looks like on its own. I have a little makeup setting spray on my finger. It's actually not even that great used wet though. It's like, it won't come off my finger. It's like sticking to my finger and not transferring much onto my lid. Wow, I expected that to be better. I expected that to be a whole lot better, especially when I used it wet. That's a no. That is a no, no, no for me. Oh, that's so disappointing because it looks so beautiful in the palette. It didn't do much. The next shade that we're trying is called Hush Hush. This is a matte and it looks really beautiful actually. I love a dusty rose type of mauve shade. I think it's so pretty. So just gonna go ahead and pop that on the lid. That's pretty. It's very subtle. I went in the palette one more time to get a little more pigment. I'm gonna start working that into my crease area, blending that around. So here we have Hush Hush. I actually love this shade. I think it went on pretty easy. It blended out pretty easy. It's not very patchy at all. And I love it. It's simple. It's easy. I like it. Not much to say about it. I think it's pretty and it applied just fine. Now we're gonna be live swatching the shade Gem, which is a very vibrant royal purple. Looks to be a little shimmery. Whoa, that one has a lot of fallout. This is one layer. I'm trying to pack all over the lid, but it's not going all over the lid. I'm gonna go in with a second layer of shadow. Here we go. It's a little better, but yet it doesn't want to stick. I'm gonna work a bit of that up into the crease area as best I can. It's a pretty color for sure. I'm gonna go in for the third time here. And again, you guys, I can't stress this enough. I'm sure it applies a lot better with a primer or a tackier base. Dang, that's a lot of fallout. It like just doesn't want to stick in the middle. Again, that seems to be a reoccurring thing. Taking a dry, totally clean brush to see if I can blend that crease out nicely. It's not that it's blending badly, it just really doesn't want to blend it all. Again, it's not a matte, so it is a little more shimmery. That might be why, but it's having a hard time going up my lid when I often don't have that problem with shadows. I usually don't have to dip back into the shadow to get the color to fan up a bit. It's going a bit. It is going a bit now that I look at it. So here we have the shade Gem. I think it is a beautiful purple. I love the color in the tone. It was difficult to get it to apply evenly all over the lid. You guys already know the drill. It would be better with primer, of course. And it blended out kind of okay. It blended out okay. Not my favorite shadow, but definitely not the worst we've tried. Next up, we're live swatching the shade Pizzazz, which is a shimmery metallic shade. That's going on very well. That one's really pretty. One dip into the palette. This so far has been definitely the best performing metallic shade. So here we have Pizzazz. I think this one's fine. This one I did not have any problems with. The fallout wasn't even too terrible. There is a weird little metallic spot. I don't know why. I tried to kind of blend that out, but for some reason it popped a little funny there. There's like a random patch of metallicness that isn't everywhere all over the lid. So that's kind of strange, but overall I think the color's really pretty and it was pigmented, definitely. The next shade we're going to try is called Mystic, and Mystic is also a matte shade. A lot of fallout in this shade for sure. It seems to be very, very dry. These matte deeper shades have all been extremely dry. They're not very creamy. It definitely takes a few layers to get that pigmentation up. Oh god. It's a little patchy. It's just so dry, I think is the problem. I'm going to take a dry, clean brush at first and see if we can blend that out. Okay, this is very weird. Okay, so first of all, you can see how it's removing some of the shadow on my lid. But that color like made a stain. Like the instant it hit my lid, I cannot get that line out for the life of me. I am really trying to blend that out. Do you see that harsh shape there? Oh, it does not want to leave. Wow. Now it's just taking it all off on my lid. I'm going to dip my brush into that Mystic shade, see if we can get that to kind of go back to normal and in turn blend out that line. Oh, this makes me sad. I thought I was really gonna love this shade. Okay, so we're getting it to smooth out. In order for that to really blend out, you really need to take the same color. It's not perfect by any means, but you're gonna have to just keep building up that shade and covering that line if you applied it the way I did. It's still not even perfectly blended and it's still kind of stripping away some of the pigment right on the lid there that I'm kind of trying to put back now. Am I crazy? Do you see that there? It just doesn't want to pop on there. And it was really difficult to blend out until we got that shadow on my actual blending brush to dig into the crease to get it to blend out. We finally got it there, so that's a good thing. You know, it got itself there, but at first I was like, oh my gosh, that's like so weird that it stained my lid in that weird shape. I don't know, it's a pretty color, but I'm telling you, these mattes are a little tricky. They definitely are. The next shade we're swatching is called Sparks. I've switched to my Sigma E59 brush. I have to keep letting my brushes dry in between all my swatches when I'm cleaning them, so that's why you see me kind of jumping around with a bunch of different shadow brushes. I just pretty much grabbed all the shadow brushes I had. Picking that on again. It's just very, very dry. It's not unworkable. You can work it, you can use it. They're definitely not the worst shadows I've ever tried in my life, but they're not as great as I felt like Jaclyn had built them up to be. I mean, the swatches that you see on the arms are beautiful. Of course they are, because you're digging into the shadow. Even if you're doing one swipe, it's still a dig motion. It's the pressure. You're not applying that pressure to your eyelid, and your eyelid itself has texture. It's not as smooth as, you know, the back of your arm. That's why I really love the live swatches that we do. It's a pretty color, and this actually didn't go on too terribly, but it's dry. It's just a total like building process that you have to do. And yet I still see some patchiness in there. Again, let's take a dry blending brush, no product on it, to see how we can get that to smooth out that line. It really doesn't want to budge. And again, once you get into blending, you run into this issue here where it strips away at that color. So you're always going to have to dip your blending brush into the color that you're trying to blend out so that it doesn't remove any shadow, but then also so that you can kind of carry it up a little farther like this. The colors are beautiful, don't get me wrong, but their performance is a little janky. It's a little rough, mostly with the mattes. I mean, you can see where it just took away that whole center. So you'd have to go back in with more eyeshadow and touch that up and then continue your blending. And here we have the shade Sparks. Like I was saying, you guys know the drill. It's a little patchy, it's a little dry. You saw what you have to do to kind of fix it. Overall, the color's really pretty, but it's not an easy shadow to use. It's not. The next shade we are live swatching is called Glitz and Glam. Again, this is another like kind of super chunky looking glittery shade, so I don't expect it to go on that well without primer or without a more liquidy base. just with my dry brush, it's extremely subtle. It's there, as you can see. It's just very, 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 very subtle. I'm going to wet my finger. Again, let's give this a fair shot because it's probably better used wet. Oh, that's what Glitz and Glam's supposed to look like. That's not what it looks like on my lid at all. And let's pop that on. There, it's going on a lot better. The pigment obviously is definitely better though when used wet. It's kind of just like a very light nude shimmer shade, very basic. I expected a little more from it. I did, a little more metallic. The metallic is so gritty almost. It doesn't go on smoothly like a foiled shadow like some of ColourPop's. I know I keep referencing theirs, or even Urban Decay's. This, I mean, I even use my finger, which is like the smoothest way to apply them, and it just looks a little gritty. So it's okay. By the way, you guys, if you're wondering what's on my lips, I've been meaning to say this and I keep forgetting. I'm wearing the NYX Cosmetics lip liner in the shade Natural with the KKW Beauty collaboration with Kylie Cosmetics in the shade Kimberly, and this is a cream liquid lipstick, so it's a little shiny. It's not completely matte, which I really like. Next up, we're going to be swatching the shade Rockstar, which looks gorgeous, but again, these mattes have me nervous, girl. Just going to start packing that on the lid. Oh, that's nice and deep and vibrant. We'll see how it carries throughout the whole lid here. So far, so good. That's really pretty. I'm going into the palette a second time. Now, towards the crease is where we've been experiencing some issues, particularly with the matte shades, so let's see. It doesn't look half bad. Again, I do see in the crease where it's getting that kind of dark line. So let me grab a blending brush. We're gonna try it clean and dry like we have been first. Buff out that edge. Oh, again, you can see where it's removing it. It's like when you're just trying to blend out the edge of the matte shadow, it takes away some on the actual lid. So again, going into that shadow with the blending brush, I'm gonna touch up that spot and then also work it into the crease to get that to blend out. It's just removing it off of the actual lid. Again, you gotta pick up more color on your blending brush to get it to fade out into the crease, which is fine, but then it really does strip some away on your lid, and I don't know if that would improve with a base, if you had some concealer or some eyeshadow primer to hold it down as you're blending, but it definitely does take away some on the lid as you're blending for some reason. The next shade we're going to be live swatching is called Ballsy. This one I thought looked really, really pretty. Again, it's that chunkier shimmer, so I don't know how well it will show up on our dry lid, but we'll give it a shot. It's like hard to like, I know you don't blend shimmery shades, but it almost feels like for every little inch or every little centimeter of eyelid that you have, you need to dip into the palette to get it to go on. You can't really move it around very easily. It's a little lackluster. It's cute. It's cute. I don't love it. Let's do it with a wet finger again, because it's just no secret that these shimmery shades always apply better with a wet finger or a wet brush. That's definitely better. It's definitely better. It's a very subtle color. I'm not sure if it's even meant to be super bold or anything like that. I don't know why they named it Ballsy, because it's not that ballsy. Now when I look up close in the mirror, I don't love it. It's very basic. It's very plain. It almost reminds me of like kids makeup, or not even kids makeup. Like, what's that makeup brand that ladies used to sell? Avon. It reminds me of like an Avon eyeshadow. It's just nothing to write home about for me. So the very last shade in this palette is called Berry Treasure. It looks beautiful in the pan. It has a high shimmer, but also looks matte, which kind of has me nervous on how it will apply, but we'll give her a go. Oh, what? Oh, goodness. Do not take as much as I did. Do you see all of that fall out? Goodness gracious, if this got on my carpet, I'd be pissed. I think that's a little crazy how much shadow just came off. Anyway, let's pop that on. I'm hoping the glitter actually shows up in this shade. I hate when brands kind of do, there was a shade like this in Kathleen Light's Horoscope palette where it just kind of exactly like this. It ends up just kind of being like a matte black because the glitter never stays. It never lasts. Let's be real. We all know that already. Like, you can hardly see any of the glitter and it just looks like a matte black. Let's again do our best to blend that out. Oh my god, you can already see what it's doing. It is by no means blending out evenly. It's going away. I swear to you, I'm trying to stay on the very top line of this shadow. No matter how high I go up, it just wipes some shadow away. Now this is crazy. So there's hardly any blend on top. It's real patchy. Then there's that stark line that you cannot buff out for the life of you. And then a gap in the shadow. See if we can patch that up a bit and smooth over. Okay, that's kind of working. And then try to blend that out again. It's just taking it away on the lid. So this is what I would suggest you'd kind of have to do. I feel like you'd have to first use this shade in the crease and then pop it onto the lid so that it doesn't all swipe away like it did right there. They're not anything you can't use. If you want to put your back into it and really work these shadows out, you can do it for sure. And I think I still am going to be able to create some really gorgeous looks with these palettes, but it's going to be a journey getting there. You're going to have to find your right method of applying the shadows as far as the mattes go to really make your look work and not do what it did there where it takes it away in the middle. People who are complaining about the palette, please don't think they're just haters or they're full of shit. I hope you can physically see in my video the mattes are extremely difficult to work with. And personally, first of all, I'm not even sure that there are two versions of the palette. And something had to have changed because the packaging has different ingredients on it. There's the ingredients and then there's the stickered ingredients. So I personally don't know if they changed the ingredients before the Vault even ever launched. Back to the first launch of it. Maybe they changed something real quick and had to pop on those new labels. I'm not sure if there's such a thing as a bad batch. I mean, maybe they just weren't great. Let's think about what the Vault is. The Vault is Jaclyn and Morphe's leftover eyeshadows. Compare it to Thanksgiving dinner. Thanksgiving dinner is so good. It's so good. And then you have the leftovers and you still eat the shit out of those leftovers because, you know, it's Thanksgiving dinner. However, the leftovers are not as good as the fresh, piping hot out of the oven Thanksgiving dinner. Like, that is the best. You can't beat it, but you'll still eat those leftovers. And that's how I feel about the Vault so far. The Vault shadows. They're not as good as the original Morphe and Jaclyn Hill mega palette that they came out with. They're the leftover shades that weren't quite as great and didn't make the cut. We gotta remind ourselves, they didn't make the cut. They didn't. And I don't think it's because the shades weren't pretty enough. I think the shadows were kind of beat. It was a formula that didn't go out so well. They weren't good enough to put into the main palette, so they've moved them into these palettes, and now I almost feel like Jaclyn, bless her heart, is trying to cover up for why they're not that great and try and figure out and find the source and find the reason why the shadows aren't performing so great for everyone, instead of maybe just admitting that, guys, listen, these were leftover shadows. They didn't make it into the palette for a reason. There's a reason they did not make it into the main palette. They're leftovers. They're not as good as the actual original shadows. I don't even know if there's any reformulation involved, but I just think that she needs to just say it like it is. These are the leftover shadows. They will never compare to my original palette, but if you still want them, here they are. Like, if that's the honest truth, you can't, there's nothing to complain about for that. You know, no one could hate on her for that if she's being honest, just honest and upfront and saying, these were just the leftovers. This was not meant to be as good as my original because they're leftovers. I just feel, honestly, I'm just sick of this battle going on Twitter of people attacking her for them not being very good and her attacking people back saying, they're amazing. Like, I'm laughing at everyone saying that my shadows aren't good who haven't even tried them. And I'm like, oh, like, let's just put all the egos aside and just take it for what it is. These are leftover shadows that did not make it into the original palette, and there's a reason behind that. There is a reason. Sure, maybe she just liked these colors better in the big palette, but is there a chance? Is there a chance that the formulas of these shadows could not measure up to go into that main palette because that was the big launch? Is there a chance they're just not that great and she can just say, just own up to it, you know what, they weren't meant to be that freaking great? I don't know why we have to treat it like this was supposed to be so amazing. And honestly, that's what Jaclyn did. She really gassed it up. She really built these shadows up. I was stoked for them, and I'm still excited because I don't mind them, but they're not that good. They're not as good as the original Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette, and I think if she would have just said that, I think there wouldn't be all this drama with this freaking palette. So, I mean, that's the end of this palette. It was decent. The mattes, you guys can see, they're tricky to use. The shimmers kind of let me down. Pizzazz was really good. Glitz and Glam was okay. The rest were just kind of eh. Like, you don't need them by any means. This, I was really excited for. It's just a patchy matte black, as you can see. Ignore all the glitter in there because you're not going to see it on your lid anyway. The purple was really pretty, and I really loved Hush Hush. I loved Hush Hush. But I think we all just need to take this palette for what it is. It's leftover eyeshadows that didn't make it into a palette. These are the rejects. These are the reject shadows that did not not make it in. And so they perform in a somewhat reject kind of way. That's all there is. I love the magic of YouTube because you can literally stop your video and eat an entire pizza by yourself and no one has any idea. I may or may not have just done that. I had a little dinner. I needed to recharge because this is a long ass video to film. Redid my lips, got a new color. It's actually the same Kylie Cosmetics lip cream. I just used this Makeup Forever lip crayon in the shade number 22. We're now going to be live swatching the Armed and Gorgeous palette, arguably the palette I was most excited for out of the entire Vault collection. I love these shades. I love yellows. I love greens. Coin just has me so excited. I'm praying this one does not disappoint. I'm really excited for this palette. So let's go ahead and get started. The first shade I'm going to be swatching is called VIP. It looks like another really chunky kind of glittery shadow. Pop that on. I'm not a big fan of colors like this. It's like, why is it so white? Who does this ever look good on? I mean, it can be fun to use in other looks, like on your inner corners or to brighten something up, but like whoever really wants like a white shimmery shade? I just don't know who it looks good on. This one also weirdly patchy. Do you see where it just grabbed my inner half, but it's not really grabbing around the rest of the eye the same way? So much fallout. This is just an ugly eyeshadow. This will probably be the last time I ever use this eyeshadow. It's just, ugh. Anyway, here's the shade VIP. As you guys know, I am not a fan of this color whatsoever. It also did not perform that well, so that's unfortunate. I'm not truly upset about that because I probably would never use this shade anyway. The next shade we are trying is called Access. It looks like a beautiful mustard yellow. I really like this color. This could be super fun come fall. Going in one more time with my brush. I dipped into the palette again. That's not terrible, is it? Going in the palette one more time, trying to build that up. And then let's blend that out a bit. Dry brush again, as we've been doing. It took away some in the crease again, but I think it'll be easy to patch it up. Let me try. Yeah, this one is not difficult to use in my opinion. I think this one actually went on really well. So here we have the shade Access. I really like this shade. I actually think it went on very well. It was not as patchy as the other mattes we've tried so far. I love the color. I think it's beautiful. I'd love to use this during the fall time and summertime. I think a yellow is just fun any time of year. It's just a fun, happy color. The next shade here is called Guilt Trip. This looks like a nice little shimmery doodah. Oh, that's pretty. Nice little shine. This one actually looks smoother than even VIP and some of the other ones we were trying. Going into my palette again, I dipped my brush, got a little more, and packing that on. That's cute. Okay, so far these haven't been too bad. This one has a decent amount of pigmentation. It has a nice foiled effect. I feel like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. It's a cute yellow. I really like this shade. It actually went on easy. It's not patchy, and it definitely has more of a metallic effect than some of the other ones we saw in the past palettes that are probably meant to look like this, but they just didn't foil that well. I like it. This one is cute. The next shade we're going to be swatching is called Coin. I have high hopes for this one. This is the one I was really excited for. Wow, not a lot went on at all. I thought I got a lot of shadow. Let me go back in. I'm really swirling my brush in there, trying to get it to kind of lift up. That's better. But it did not go on like that at first, but now I really like it. That's really pretty. Again, I gotta just keep going into the pan. It like does not spread around a lot. I've noticed I had to get a lot on my brush to build up these shimmer shades. But now that I've got it, you know, all on there, I actually love the color. I love the color. I'm really excited that this one's kind of turning out for me fine because this is the one I was really hopeful for, especially this color in particular. I was just crazy over. I love the tone. I love how it's like a lime green, but it's like a yellow. It is gorgeous, you guys. I am a fan of this shade. So this next shade that we're going to live swatch is called Agent. It is an orange shade, at least to my eyes, that looks orange. I'll be honest, when I first saw that the orange shade was going to be called Agent, my mind went to Agent Orange. And if you don't know about that, do your research. I'm trying to understand why she would name this shade Agent. I mean, maybe it's a coincidence, and you know, the whole palette is like, you know, it's top secret, it's smooth criminal, it's secure, classified, so it's very military-esque, and Agent Orange was extremely, I mean, I can't even think of a word to, I'm sure you guys know what Agent Orange is. It is a chemical that the US government sprayed in Vietnam. It causes so many problems, not only to the environment, but obviously to people. I mean, it was used as a military force in Vietnam. It also lingers. It causes birth defects. effects. It's crazy. So to me, I was a little shocked. I know I'm being sensitive here, or maybe too PC, which is something people make fun of me for all the time in my own family and my friend group. I'm always the PC police, but to me, I think it was highly offensive to name the shade Agent when it's an orange shade. That's just my personal opinion. If you don't feel that way, that's totally cool. Like, you don't have to agree with me whatsoever. I was just really, really shocked to see that the orange shade was named Agent. Maybe whoever named the shade, I don't know if Jaclyn Hill personally named each shade herself. Maybe someone just knew of the term Agent Orange and they thought, oh, Agent would be great, but I would probably have put that on any other color but an orange shade. I just think it's in bad taste. Aside from the shade name, I think it's a pretty color. So let's go ahead and pop Agent on. It's a nice tone. It's not going on quite as dry as the other shades did, the other matte shades, from what I can tell at the moment. I just dipped back into my pan. That looks decent enough all over the lid. Now taking a blending brush into the crease to smooth that out. It's kind of doing that thing again, you guys, where it's almost as if the friction from the brush makes the shadow like stain or darken like right in the crease, because it shouldn't have darkened it. We didn't add any shadow. It should have just blended it out, but yet it does create this line through there. So it definitely did do that again. It just seems to be something that all the mattes are doing. Like, you can see where it looks like I added a darker color into my crease, but I didn't. It's the same shade and it should have just blended it out, but instead it's made it darker there. So I think that's a pattern we're gonna see with all of the matte shades, to be honest. I think it's a pretty shade. I just don't care for the shade name. The next shade we are swatching is called Top Secret, and it looks like a beautiful olive. Taking that with a flat brush again. That definitely is a little patchy right out of the gate. And I think she said that greens and blues were the hardest to make. I know I was talking about this earlier in the video. So I'm not sure if people were finding this shadow particularly tricky to use. I'm going in with a little bit more shadow than I was before because I saw it getting super patchy. But even now it's patchy. Even with more shadow, I dip my brush in one more time to see if I can get that to even out. That's better. This looks like one that you like really gotta pack on well. It's a beautiful color. So much damn fallout though. And no, it's doing that thing. It's doing that thing where it's so much darker in the crease than it is on the lid. And we spent more time on the lid, so that's what's really confusing about it. Let me take a dry, clean brush now. Let's see if we can get that to blend out a bit. So just swirling that in the crease. Again, you saw me. I did not pick up any additional shadow. Ugh, that is not okay. That is not looking good at all. I mean, you guys, you can see it there. Like, this is, I can't lie. That is horrible. Let me go back into that shade with my blending brush. Let's see if we can fix all this up here. I think it's one thing for people to do a look, an entire look using all the shadows and think that it's fine. I feel like if I were to just do a look with these palettes using a bunch of shadows to make my look, I think I could do a really great look with it. And obviously that's how we're going to wear them. But just you guys seeing the shades and how they perform individually, I think is so important. And I think it shows the true integrity of the shadows and the quality in what they are. Look at that. I can't. See, this is a shame because actually if I were to just like put concealer over my lid now and pop another color on top, you wouldn't know that this was happening. You know what I mean? It's easy to make these shadows look like they are super great because it looks fine, like crease up, but the lid for some reason is a mess. Disappointed. Disappointed but not surprised, honestly. God, I really thought everyone was gonna be wrong. I thought everyone was gonna be wrong when I was about to film this video. Fine, people are being dramatic. No. They're not being dramatic. You can physically see. I mean, please look at that. Please look at that and tell me how people are wrong. Because I see so many people on Twitter trashing those who said the palette didn't work for them. And there's nothing wrong if you love the shadows. That is awesome. I'm glad you're getting your money's worth. But you also have to understand that it's not working for everybody, and that's okay. It doesn't mean everyone's a Jaclyn Hill hater. As I said, I love Jaclyn Hill, I do. But, I mean, it's right there. The proof is in the pudding, and I can't lie about that. That is shit. It's a beautiful color. It's a really crappy formula. It just is. Alright, we have another matte here, so wish me luck. The next shade we're going to be testing is Smooth Criminal. It's a beautiful brown. I love this tone. I know it's pretty standard. It's not necessarily unique, but I do enjoy these colors. I'm curious to know how many of you guys purchased the Vault already, or are you still waiting? Are you watching reviews? Well, how do you guys feel about the palette? And if you have it, please let me know if you love it or if you weren't happy with it. Either way, I hope that everyone just loves it. Maybe I'm crazy, but I don't know. And it hasn't all been bad. It truly has not all been bad. So that's pretty. I've gone into my palette twice now. I'm going in for a third time. It's all fine and dandy here. It's once we get to the crease that it starts to be a problem. Okay, and now I'm just kind of working that into the crease. Got my clean, dry blending brush here. This is a very pigmented shadow. It is really, really pretty. I'm hoping it blends well because this is a shade I'd love to use. Honestly, looks like it's having a little bit of a hard time blending out, but I don't know. It's a little patchy. I'm so interested to edit this video and see how these shades look on camera. I'm just running that through. It did it again, didn't it? Do you see right there in the center of the eye where it just kind of looks like the color lifted? So I'm getting some of that color on my brush. See if we can just cover that up and fix that while blending the crease. It's not that they're unusable, that's just annoying. It's annoying to have to fix. So again, this is the shade A Smooth Criminal. You guys already know my thoughts on it. It's beautiful in color, but the pigmentation, the formula is not there. It's not right. Something is not right. The next shade we're trying is called Secure. It's a little more orange than Agent up there. Pop that on. This one's going on a little patchy. Let me get another bit of shadow on my brush. It's pretty, but it's patchy. It's doing that thing where it's grabbing the edges of my eye and just not the center. It's so weird. And we've seen a few palettes do that this year, which I think is really weird. Like, did everyone like move to the same makeup factory? Like, is everyone using the exact same factory and formula that is making shades do this? It's strange to me. Take a dry brush and try blending that out real quick. It's just so weird to me how they get so dark in the crease for some reason. Like, why would a matte get darker? Taking more of that shade to try and fix it. That made it a little less patchy. That seems like what you have to do. You have to like blend your crease and then go over your lid one more time with your blending brush, just dousing that color everywhere. And yet it still looks darker. It's just a very weird thing. It's not the worst thing in the world. It was kind of like an instant smoky eye. So you could actually love it. You might think that's a cool, good thing that it just randomly gets darker in your crease. It's just weird because it shouldn't do that, but I don't know. I like the color though, it's pretty. But again, we're just gonna keep having this problem. I already know it with the mattes. It like wipes away on the lid and stays in the crease and darkens in the crease. It's strange. Next, another matte shade. I'm really nervous. This is the shade Prowl, and it looks like a nice dark espresso brown, which typically tend to be my favorite shadows. I just love how like, they look on the lid. You know what I mean? Ooh, that is pigmented. That went on really pigmented right away. I can appreciate that. It was nice to see it go on like that. This one's not bad. Randomly, this one's not bad. We've not gotten into the crease just yet, but upon first application, it looked pretty smooth. Looks pretty opaque. I'm gonna take my dry brush again and see how that blends by itself, and then we'll of course take some more of the shadow if it's not blending too well and try it that way. Looks like that edge right there, see that? It's having a little difficulty blending. Do you see what I mean? Like right there, can you see that edge that won't blend? I'm gonna dip into the eyeshadow and see if we can cover that up real quick. Get that to smooth on out. It's just getting worse. It's just, I don't see the blending capabilities there. It's just not there. It really isn't. This shadow was the easiest of them all. Not necessarily the blending, but at least it didn't completely disappear on the lid. Now that I'm looking in my monitor, it is kind of disappearing right there. You could do all this work to try and make the shadows work and blend out and perform, or you could just buy like a ColourPop $5 eyeshadow. It doesn't even have to be ColourPop. I'm just saying there's a ton, even MAC, there's a ton of great matte brown shadows that you really wouldn't have to work so hard to fix. So that's my point of view on it. It's okay. All right, so we're on the very last shade of the Armed and Gorgeous palette. This is called Classified, and it's another textured, kind of gritty. So again, a shade like this really requires either a wet brush or a wet finger or a tackier base to really shine, really show its true potential. It's actually not terrible on my dry ass lid, you know what I'm saying? That's pretty good for being a dry lid, in my opinion. It's not the best, but it's definitely not the worst. So there it is with a dry application. All right, so I have it on my finger. It's pretty on my finger. That's much better. I actually really like this shade. It's kind of like a dingy glam look, which is kind of my favorite. You guys know I love real dingy, dirty looking smoky eyes. They're just my favorite, and I think that's a really pretty color. So I really do like Classify. Okay guys, we are on the very last palette. This one is called Dark Magic. It has me so scared right now because the shades are very matte throughout the palette. There's only a few shimmers and they are very dark. I'll be honest, I'm scared. I'm scared of this one. I'm scared of the mess. I'm scared on if they're gonna blend or not. I'm scared. Let's just go ahead and do it. So let's first start with Poof, which is just a peachy, creamy shade. That's nice. Would be nice for a highlight on the brow bone. I like that it's not just like a white. It's got some peachiness to it. It's pretty sheer, but it's enough for probably what you'd use it for. And again, if you used it on top of a concealer or anything like that, it should pop a bit more. It doesn't show up a ton on the lid, but it's a clean color. It'll vary depending on our skin tones, but it's simple. If you've made it this far, shout out to you. You are the real MVP. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe and give me a thumbs up before you leave this video. I would really appreciate it. Seriously, it means the world to me if you do. The next shade we're gonna swatch is called Power Cut. It kind of looks like a mossy silver, or maybe it's just a gray. I don't know. We'll see it on the lid. Oh, I guess it's just like a gray, metallic gray. It's not quite silver, you know what I mean? It's like muddy silver. I personally hate colors like this. I don't even know why this would be in here. I mean, I think it goes with the whole palette scheme, but how many people use silver and gray? Let me know. If you use it, I apologize, and I don't mean to offend you at all. I shouldn't go speaking for everybody. It's okay. It applied okay. It's just dull. It's just not exciting. I'd either want this to be extremely metallic or extremely bright or just something not so in the middle, in between. You know what I mean? So again, this is Power Cut. It's okay. It's not my favorite. The next shade we're going to try is called Shhh. Looks like a mousy, like taupey brown. Pop that on here. That's pretty. There is some fallout, but it seems to be a decent amount of pigment. Meh. Now as I'm going farther, it feels really, really dry. It's difficult to get it to like smoothly go over the lid. Gosh, I don't know how to describe it. The color seems there, but I can already tell we're about to look at how it's already deepening up on the crease. We're about to run into that problem we've been having with most of the matte shades. Just gonna try and pack over that so we get an even color and then start fluffing through the crease a bit to soften those edges. I've gone into my palette about 3 or 4 times now. Okay, let me work on blending that out. I've got a dry brush, nothing on it. And again, you can see the fallout, but like I said, as long as the shadows have good pigmentation, I don't always mind the fallout. Now, these shadows are questionable because, I mean, it's like they're pigmented, they just are blending weird. And that's why I was kind of saying, like, I feel like I'm having subculture flashbacks, like I said earlier, because I remember subculture doing this. Just hard to get that edge out, so I'm gonna dip into the shadow and kind of dust it over and blend it out that way. It's really pretty in your transition. I think it's gonna be a gorgeous transition tone if you can get it to blend. That one's not that bad. When I look at it up close, it's not that bad at all. So here we have the shade Shh, and I really don't mind this one as much as I minded some other shades. It was tricky to blend, but I just popped some more color in that crease and it did seem to blend out fine. So yeah, that's how I feel about Shhh. So I think it's okay. It's definitely not the worst of the mattes that we've tried so far. The next shade we are swatching is called Trickery, and I'm actually excited for this shade because I think it's really beautiful. I love forest green anything. This one looks to have a little bit of a sheen to it. I don't know, it's hard to tell. I'm gonna start packing that on the lid. It's a very pretty tone. I do think this shade is pigmented. Again, it just kind of feels dry on the lid. I don't see this shade being an easy shade to blend out personally. I don't even know if I want to attempt it. It's pretty though. It looks so pretty on the lid. I have a dry brush here. Let's try and work around that edge. It's actually not doing as terrible as I thought it might. It's not really moving, but it's at least fanning out a bit. Just a little bit, not a lot. It is a pretty eyeshadow. I actually don't hate this one as much as I thought I would, and I think it did blend out better than even some of the matte shades did. So that is Trickery, and I don't hate it. The next shade is called Diversion, and it looks a little chromy as well. That has a really nice amount of pigment. This one is not bad at all. It's going on beautifully. It's not a real exciting color. I was hoping it was going to have a tinge more olive in it than just kind of being this dingy gray, but some people might really like this shade. It's not my favorite shade, however, the consistency of the shadow was really, really nice. It's pigmented. It went on evenly. I cannot complain about this color one bit, especially compared to some others that we've tried in this palette. Diversion is not bad at all. I really like the shade as far as, again, how it applied, the pigmentation. It was okay for sure. The next shade we are swatching is called Potion, and it, again, is a beautiful olive green. That is a gorgeous, gorgeous color. So far, it's going on just fine. Again, it just feels very, very dry. You can tell by the way it applies that it's very dry, but the color looks really nice. So let's start taking this up into the crease area. It's not wanting to go past that little line that it's forming. Okay. I've added some more shadow, trying to even it out. Let's take a dry blending brush. You guys know the drill. Let's see if we can buff that out. It is not budging, and it's starting to get quite patchy, and it's stripping away where we don't want it to go, and it's just not moving what we want to move. So I'm going to take some of Potion on my brush to try to fix that up and blend it throughout the crease. I love this shade. I'll be super disappointed if I can't get this one to blend it nicely. Going back into the palette again. That made it a little easier. It's getting there. This is one you're gonna have to work on, but I think over time you'll get it to blend and you'll get it to move out. It's just finding the right ratio of pigment to brush and lid, do you know what I mean? But there I can see where, again, it's forming that dark line throughout the crease, and it's kind of stripping away some pigment on the lid. It's the same problem we've been having with the mattes. I think it's going to continue throughout the rest of each one of these shades. So you guys let me know what you think. But all in all, it's a pretty shade, it is. And I would love to use this all over the lid. I wish it would blend a little better, but this is a color I would probably strive to make work. Like, I would try my very hardest to use it because I think it's so, so pretty. The next shade we are testing is called Busted, and I think this looks like the most beautiful blue. This is a shade I was personally really, really excited about when I first even ever saw photos of her vault or swatches. I thought it was absolutely gorgeous. It's actually almost the exact same color of my bedroom wall. My bedroom's a little darker, but I love this type of tone. It's just so, it's just satisfying. It's a very satisfying color to look at. So we're packing that all over the lid. So far, so good directly on the lid, and that's, you know, been the pattern. We will see how it blends out. And again, I think I've said this 3 or 4 times now. I think Jaclyn said that greens and blues are some of the harder shadows to make. So I'm gonna try and be gentle on this one if it doesn't blend that well. I'm just gonna take a dry brush and go around that edge and see if we can't blend that out a bit. That is like getting really bright all of a sudden. I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into my palette and take some of that Busted because I can already see like where that's going. You see how it's stripping away the color right there? I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna take it with my brush with Busted on it. See if we can't get that to blend nicely. It's blending out. It's getting super bright. It's a little streaky, and obviously you can see where it's taking it away on the lid. This would be a shade I would probably only wear directly on my eyelid and not try to blend out, because this is what's gonna happen. And especially if you're like in a rush to get somewhere, like you just want to pay attention. I'd hate for you to muck up your face before you go somewhere important. This, I think, is definitely gonna be a palette you're gonna want to experiment with before, you know, I look insane, before rushing out to an important event with it or something. It's getting there. It's just a little patchy. It's a little streaky. Please tell me if you can see this. Okay, so we're getting it to blend out pretty decently, but then there's randomly that harsh line in the crease, and then it's gone and empty on my lid. Why? Why does it do that? I wish it didn't do that, because this shade, it really is so beautiful. I love this color so much. I even like that it blends out bright. I think that is super fun. That could be cool to play with. I'm upset. I was really excited for this palette, and so far it's everything I was afraid it was going to be. So this again here is the shade Busted. I love the color. I love the tone. I wish it wasn't doing that weird thing where it disappears on the lid and it gets dark in the crease. The blending was tricky, and I know that's not a good blend. Trust me, I'm not like, look at my blend. I know it's patchy as sin, but it could have also been my fault because I went in with so much shadow to try and even out the lid and the crease, and it just got in, it was just a mess. It's a mess. It really is busted. Okay, it is busted the house. Clock it, Rich Lux. We are getting through this, you guys. We only have 3 shades left. Let's keep on pushing. The next shade is called Inside Job. Oh, so much fallout with these darker shades. I hate it. The problem with colors like this is, I mean, they're so beautiful in the pan, but they are such a bitch. The way they bleed all over your face and the way the fallout gets on like your brush handles and like different pieces of makeup on your desk or your table or your bathroom or your floor, no matter where you're doing this, those particles, like, they just stain everything. That's what I kind of hate about these darker matte shades. Not just from Morphe, but a lot of brands have these really dark saturated shades, and you ever just notice like you pick up something and all of a sudden there's black shadow or there's some blue or green shadow all over your hand, and then it's on your face and you didn't realize it got in your foundation. Like, I feel like that happens to me all the time, and God forbid it gets in your carpet. It's impossible to get out. It's a really pretty shade though. It is a deep, 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 deep green. I think it's gorgeous, but holy hell, how am I gonna get this off my face? Oh my God, I look like an idiot. I can't even get it off. I can't even worry about it right now. I can't even worry about it right now. I want to try to blend this green out. So again, we're starting with a dry brush. No additional shadow is on it here. Oh my God. Is that real life? Where did all of that eyeshadow just go? Starting to blend nicely, but then your whole lid shade is gone. Why does that happen? See, this is too much trouble for this one shade. All the makeup all over your face, you know, it's like it all went straight back onto the brush. This was a clean, dry brush, and now look how much green is on there. It's like it grabs to the brush and not to your lid. It is strange, it is weird, it is difficult. I am not pressing this shadow any farther because it is a mess. It is getting everywhere. Oh no, my pants are like ruined. I have baby pink pants on right now. They are my juicies, and I can see they are about to be stained. There's no way I'm gonna be able to get this out. This is a mess. This is awful. Inside Job is absolutely terrible. Okay, that shadow was the messiest, stainiest shadow in the world. Sorry, I had to reapply my mascara, and then I got mascara on my lid, and so I wiped that away, so now there's no concealer and powder there, and it's just a mess. Next I'm gonna go into the shade Mojo. Mojo looks like an espresso matte brown. It's so dry, you guys. It's just very, very dry. It's a little patchy there where I rubbed away the concealer and the powder, so that could be on my end. No, that area is much bigger than that little spot. Oh, it's not looking good. I'm not even gonna try it with a dry brush. I'm just gonna go in with a brush with the Mojo shade on it and try and clean up that little spot, and then also blend out the crease. So working that back and forth. This blending is not too terrible. I do notice a slight line, but it's not as bad as it has been. So that's good. And it does seem to be blending a little easier than the previous shades. Now I notice the line. Now I see it. Meh. This palette specifically, I wanted to love. I wanted to love it so, so much. This is not terrible. I think this is fine and workable and doable, and you probably wouldn't have many problems using this shade. But it does, you can see there is a line there. There definitely is. So this is Mojo. Last but not least, this is obviously the one I'm least excited to do because it's a matte black. It's gonna be such a pain, and I'm gonna hardly try to take any because I just don't want this black staining my entire makeup room. I'm so scared of this eyeshadow right now. So I have it on my brush. Ooh, very pigmented. I think I remember Jaclyn saying in her video that this was like the blackest black she's ever tried in her life. It's pretty black, but I don't think it's different than many of my other blacks. And you guys know I'm like a black shadow like connoisseur. I love black eyeshadow so much. I love to use it in my crease. It's very pigmented, I will say. That is very black. I do appreciate that. Black shadow, of course, is just not easy to blend without any other shades. But I'm gonna try to start working that up into the crease. It is very black. It's almost blue, actually. Let's try to go ahead and blend that out a bit. It's actually working fine. It's really, really weird that the black of all shades is actually performing a lot better than some of the lighter matte shades. And it looks like I may have spoken a little too soon. I can see where it's starting to disappear on the lid already. So just as far as blending goes, it's blending pretty decently for a black shadow. But it's like, I'm not gonna push it any farther. There is Temptress. Okay, so we are done with the live swatches. I'm gonna make this short and sweet, I promise, because I know this video has been very, very long, and I'm pretty sure you've all made your decisions on whether you're interested in the palette or if you're not interested in it at this point. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. I took off all my makeup because I just was done. I've been filming this video for like 6 hours now because it takes so long between removing the makeup and putting back on the makeup. But I am so excited and just proud of myself for trying every single shadow in this entire collection so that I can let you guys know what I think. The short and sweet of it, I think I already stated this in the video earlier. I'm just gonna keep using my Thanksgiving reference here. These were the leftover shades that did not make it into Jaclyn Hill's main palette. And that being said, for me just means obviously they weren't good enough to go into the main palette, and so maybe there's a reason why they're not as great as the main palette was. My assumption, and this is in no way factual, this is in no way true, it's just, I guess, a guess or a theory or a conspiracy, but my theory on a lot of these shadows is that possibly these all could have been in the main palette and they were a different formula, and maybe the formula just wasn't that great and they knew it wasn't that great, and so they moved these to the side. From there, because there's a lot of colors in these palettes that look very similar to colors that Jaclyn has in the main palette, there's a chance that these were all intended to go into her main original palette, but they didn't measure up and they knew they would not fly. And now what do they do with all these shadows? Well, you can make a bunch of little baby palettes out of them and offer it for a better price, a more affordable price, knowing that the name Jaclyn Hill sells. It sells. You can't deny that. Jaclyn Hill's name can really sell anything because people love her and they believe in her and they love her makeup, and she's so funny and she's very charismatic and she's very believable. But when you get these home and you try them out, I'm sad to say they just weren't as amazing as I felt like she kept hyping them up to be. And again, that's okay because they're not the worst shadows I've tried by any means. They are certainly not the best, but they're not the absolute worst. So I feel like personally, I mean, I know it's her collab and she wouldn't dog her own collab, but she didn't have to build them up to be so crazy. I would have said from the get-go, if I was Jaclyn and if this is how it went down, I would have said, you know what, these shadows, they didn't make it into our palettes. I would have said, you know what, all of these shadows, they're just the extras. They're the fat that did not make it into the actual palettes. However, I still personally love a lot of the colors, and I thought you guys might like them too, and you might enjoy playing with them too. So we've condensed them into these little palettes, and if you guys want to try them, you know, the palettes are cheap, 15 bucks a pop, and I hope you enjoy, but these are just, you know, the excess that did not make it into my palette, which she did say, but I felt like she never really let us know that it's not going to be the exact same formula or the exact same quality as her big Morphe Brushes palette. So again, just my final thoughts is you get what you pay for. These are $15 palettes. You're getting $15 eyeshadow palettes. It's really that simple. Though it looks so beautiful, it is way harder to work with. It's just too much work for what I just can't, and I'm sad because this is the one I wanted to love more than any of them. And don't get me wrong, I'm still gonna try and do some looks with these to see how they work together as shadows, but individually it was a mess. It was a problem. Some were good, some were bad. I think this was just the excess fat that Morphe had sitting in a warehouse somewhere that they probably wanted to get rid of, and what better way than to shove them into a Jaclyn Hill collaboration, because of course it's going to fly off the shelves. No shade to Jaclyn and all of this. Congratulations, girl. I'm happy for you on yet another Morphe collection, and I just saw today you have new Morphe brushes coming out, so super awesome. Congratulations. But this, I'm telling you guys, this is not as great as she made it out to be. It's not. It's just not. They're okay. They're decent, but you saw how they perform on camera. When you get to blending, it's an issue. It's a problem. I don't know how they work together yet because I've not created a look, but I'm going to do that tomorrow. That's really my final thoughts. I think, like I said, it's just like Thanksgiving. You had the big, delicious Thanksgiving meal, which was the main Morphe Brushes and Jaclyn palette, and then there's leftovers, and you eat those the next day, and they're not quite as good, but they're still pretty decent because it's Thanksgiving leftovers. Same with these. They're not that good, but they're decent. I don't know that I believe that there is a better batch out there. I don't really believe that at all. I don't even know if they were repressed or reformulated. I think they just are what they are. They're not that great. They're the leftover junk eyeshadows that did not make it into a main palette for a reason. And I think we just gotta chalk it up to that and end it. It's done. People are so invested in looking for these batch codes and, like, you know, different receipts and shipping receipts and were they ever destroyed, and things like that. And I know I got into it too when I read that comment to you guys in this video about the whole product being RTV'd or not. But at the end of the day, I think we just gotta accept that they're not that great. Morphe, you know, you just didn't make that great of a collection. I think these were just your leftovers and you didn't want them to go to waste. And again, I'm so curious to know if Jaclyn has tried every shade on her eyes or not. I would love to hear her answer. I gotta know, did you try it on the eyes? How did it perform? There's no way that she would call them super amazing if she saw that this is how they perform. So that's my final thoughts on this collection, you guys. Do I regret buying it? No. Am I super excited about it anymore? No. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't and give this video a thumbs up. I do so many of these live swatching videos from all different brands, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Turn on those notifications so you do not miss a video. Also, maybe if you're a member of any makeup fan pages, like on Facebook or on Reddit, even Twitter, whatever, if you could share my video, that would be amazing. If you're talking about the palette and people are debating whether it's good or not, if they want to see each individual shade in action, in use, please send my video, post my video link. I'd love to get new exposure and meet some future butters out there. I think that would be awesome. I love you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.